Hello and welcome to Whisky.com news on the 13th of December 2021. And we have a number of very interesting news. The first news is Fettercairn 16 2021 edition is now here. Or it's gonna be here in a week or something, so it's very close. White Mackay, the proprietors of the Fettercairn Distillery, are bringing out the 2021 edition at the very end of the year with 46.4% ABV, and it's a combination of sherry cask matured whiskey and sherry finished induced whiskey casks, and it will be available very soon. Then we have Bimber. They're beginning the build of their new Scottish Speyside distillery in Dunphail. I think I've already talked about that when they got their permit for building, and now they're starting to build, and they want to be ready in about a year. And the distillery will be called Dunphail Distillery. It is not being built from the ground up. They're actually renovating an old farm building, and on that estate the new distillery will be built. Then we have good news from the GlenWyvis Distillery. They're bringing out their first whiskey. It's always nice to see if you have a distillery that has been built new and they're bringing out their first whiskey. So it's now a proper distillery without whiskey, with a real range. No, not a range, but one whiskey at least. It's called the inaugural release with 18 casks from the year 2018. It's not colored, unchill filtered, 50% ABV. Congratulations, you are now amongst the distilleries, the real distilleries. The distilleries with a range of whiskey. Then we have the Tullibardine The Murray 2008. A new Murray is out. It was matured in first fill bourbon casks, and it has 56.1% ABV and is cask strength, and will be available shortly. Then we have the Wemyss malts, and they are unveiling their extremely rare single cask whiskies. There are 6 bottlings from Wemyss malts, and they come from distilleries of Strathclyde, Glenrothes, Blair Athol, Glenkeith, Glenmoray. Unfortunately, not all of them are everywhere available. For example, 4 of the bottlings are only available inside the EU, so some of them will go to the Americas and some of them will go to Asia or Australia. Then we have Hunter Laing. They're doing a redesign for their Journey series, and this time there will be 2 new regions, and the 2 regions will be called the Campbelltown Journey and the Hebridean Journey, and they will also be available shortly. Then we go over to the United States and we go to Heaven's Door Spirit, and they are celebrating the new Bootleg series volume number 3. The newest bottling is a 13-year-old Kentucky bourbon with a Spanish influence of Vino de Naranja casks, 60.6% ABV, and so it will be available shortly, but it is very limited and will not be available everywhere. So if you see one of these bottles, they are quite rare and you should get yourself one. Then we have Four Roses. They are opening a new visitor center. It's in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, where the distillery is. They have 14,000 square meters, and it's a big visitor center with a bar, tasting rooms, and an interactive exhibition. So it sounds pretty nice, and what I've seen with the distillery, very nice looking distillery. So the visitor center will probably also be very nice. Then we have Jim Beam Bourbon. They're bringing out a bourbon cream liqueur. I've never heard of a bourbon cream liqueur before, but it sounds quite nice. And it has 15% ABV. Unfortunately, it will be only available in the United States. So we here in Europe will not be able to taste them. Maybe they will come out later internationally. The international whiskey has the new Mackmyra AI02 Intelligens. So the first one was probably a good success. I did like the AI01, and this is the whiskey that has been built with all the tips and all the data they could find about their whiskey, and then they created with artificial intelligence a whiskey that should match the taste profile of their customers best. So it has 46%, 46.1% ABV, the second bottling. It was matured in first fill X bourbon barrels, then we have X Oloroso and New American Oak, as well as Swedish Oak. Yeah, and then we have a last news from Shanghai. Yeah, in Shanghai, the Macallan Experience will be open, and it's an exhibition where you can learn the history and the bottlings of Macallan in 4,000 square meters, and it will be held until the 16th of January 2022. So yeah, that was it. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.